Welcome, everybody. We're going to hold just a second here as people join us, but happy Tuesday, and we're excited for our conversation. All right, getting settled. All right, grab some coffee, grab some water, and get ready to have a chat. All right, just to not make this awkward any longer, as you sit here and look at us and we look at you. Hello, happy holidays, and welcome to our December Learning Lab. I'm Andrea Gauss, Director of Client Solutions at Allsteel, and I'll be your host today for our discussion. So as a reminder, the chat is live and so is the Q&A. So as we go through our conversation here, feel free to add comments, questions, reactions. We want to hear from you. It's way more fun when you interact with us, and I'll do my best to bring your interactions into our conversation. Also, for all of you participating, as well as those who've registered, you will be getting a link to the recording after this. So we are recording this, just in case you weren't aware. So today, we want to chat with a few individuals who we believe are challenging norms, and we love that. And that is really the point of our conversation today. So let's meet our panelists as we go through this. All right, so first we have Sequoyah Hunter-Cuviet, and she is the Vice President of Determined by Design. She is an Indigenous interior designer and an equity advocate. So thank you so much for joining us. She likes to rethink the practice of design. And what I love is each and every project she sees as an opportunity to create something unique, and thinks through really the diverse environment in which she's serving. So welcome, Sequoyah. Next, we have Jesse Cole. He's the founder of Fans First Entertainment and the owner of the Savannah Bananas. He started with the mission of making baseball fun, which we all need. So thank you for that. And the Bananas have quickly become known as the greatest show in sports. So we'll be talking with him as he flipped that industry and continues to flip industries on their head. And last but not least, we have Jeff Kovel, and he is the founder and principal of Skylab Architecture out on the West Coast. And his firm is an interdisciplinary design studio, and they're really interested and focused on shaping human experience. Jeff and his team, as they founded their practice, they're all about optimism and exploration, but all of them collectively are here to encourage us to do things differently. And so that's the point of today's conversation. So I want to know, you, Sequoyah, what's your why? Why'd you get up today? Why'd you get up yesterday? What's your why?
My why is always to be in service at the end of the day. I have a deep faith in humanity, and that is my why. I wake up to try to do some good every day.
I love that. All right, I want to know from you, Jesse. You are not afraid to think differently, to act differently. What about who you are, your upbringing, whatever, what has inspired you to get to this point? How are you allowed to just act the way you do, think the way you do?
Well, many years ago, I don't think my dad would have claimed me when I was all the crazy things that I used to do back when I was a kid. But, the reality is I was an only child. My dad raised me. When I used to play baseball, he used to yell at me, "Jess, swing hard in case you hit it." And it was that mindset that has stayed with me to take big swings. And, I sit here today, it was 8 years ago, almost to the day, that I got the phone call that we overdrafted our account. We had just launched the Savannah Bananas and we were out of money. And my wife and I had to sell our house, empty out our savings account, sleeping on an airbed. But that mindset, my dad, swing hard in case you hit it and stay positive and keep pushing forward, has guided me to where we are today, and to think differently. Because if you do what everyone else does, you're going to get results like everyone else. And we learned that normal gets normal results. So we dramatically think different with everything we do. And fortunately, we've been having a lot of fun recently.
So glad for that. Thank you for that. All right, Jeff. Just like Jesse, focus on optimism, right? Why is that? Why does that matter? How does that set you apart?
Yeah, well, I think that it's really, the world needs inspired places and spaces. I think there's been so many eras of construction and building of sort of the mundane, or building and paving at the expense of nature, creating places that don't kind of build self-esteem in the community. And I think our role is to really, through whatever type of project we get our arms around, is to sort of reset that balance and create experiences that really inspire people and send them out better than they came in.
That's great. As we were chatting right before we went live here, we're talking about, which of these doesn't belong. And, it's the man in the yellow hat. My son loves Curious Stories. We both have kindergartners, by the way. But I love this notion of we are in an industry, most of us on this call are in an industry that is facing huge change. We've looked at ourselves either in the mirror or in each other's eyes and said, what's the purpose of the office, right? We've had those conversations all year long. How do we encourage people to come back? So Jesse, you've done this in the world of baseball. You took an industry, you looked at it, you saw the good and the bad and the ugly in it. And what along the way, you said your dad said, just keep swinging. What norms, if any, were you most kind of afraid to break as you went through your process?
Well, I think the starting point for us, and I get most of my inspiration from Walt Disney, and I've got posters here, and Walt Disney and P.T. Barnum, and I learned from outside the industry. That's why I'm honored to be here with you guys, this crazy guy in a yellow tuxedo. But what I was able to do that Walt did is, Walt put on the fire station, Disneyland, he had an apartment above that, so he could walk the park. And he can get a feel for what his guests wanted. And he said, whenever I go on a ride, I'm always asking what's wrong with this thing and how could it be improved. And so he put himself in his customer's shoes. And I think for me, I did the same thing. I loved playing the game when I played, but I put myself in the fan's shoes and I realized that baseball is kind of long, slow, and boring. And you get nickel and dimed and just the way the experience was. And so the main norms, we said, we're going to make it nonstop entertainment. And, we're not in the baseball business. We're in the entertainment business. And I ask everyone, what business are you in, but what business are you really in? And so when we realized we were going to be in the same business as everyone else, we started doing crazy things. And a lot of things failed in the beginning. I mean, Flatulence Fun Night, didn't work out at all. All right. Giving away whoopee cushions. That was a disaster. Salute to Underwear Night, Dig to China Night. I mean, there was a lot of things that didn't work well. But when people started seeing our players dance and our umpire dance and, the banana baby that we lift up in the air and sing, nah, Savannah to start the games, they were like, this is a different experience. And so what I think you have to do, the starting point of all innovation, is to put yourself in your customer's shoes and eliminate every friction point and frustration point of the experience. So now, in Savannah, it's just, or wherever we play now all over the country, which is crazy, in front of 1 million fans a year, it doesn't make any sense that there's 2 million people on a lottery list to buy tickets. It doesn't make any sense, but they're seeing something they've never seen before. That's right. And so when you think about these friction points, frustration points, you go to a sporting event and you get nickel and dimed. Ticket fees, your convenient fees, that are the most inconvenient fee in the world, your taxes. Every ticket to all of our games is just all inclusive in Savannah. You get all your burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, soda, water, everything, dessert, no ticket fees, no convenient fees. So I think the industry norms are do whatever's normal and do the exact opposite. We're not going to nickel and dime you. We're going to make it nonstop entertainment, and all those things that are normally boring at a sporting event, do something different. And I think that's really, once you put yourself in your customer's shoes, you can start realizing, why have we always done it that way? And when you can ask that question, that's usually a starting point to make things happen that are pretty remarkable.
That's amazing. All right, Jeff, turning it over to you. You said one of your pillars is about strategy and innovation, and you really want to think about, designing within the construct of nature that has always existed there. So what norms are you challenging when it comes to construction, when it comes to creation of space typology?
Yeah, well, I mean, for us, we tend to just we kind of break down all the discipline labels. So we're like super collaborators, and, we love landscape architecture, we love construction, we love project management, we love interior design, lighting design, and so I think really for us, it's all of those are kind of the tools or the vocabulary that we get to kind of bring to the table. But really, like the main idea, I think, is to create places where the people want to come back to, and where it's not the same every time you come back. We're trying to build experiences that are deeper, so that the more you enjoy a place or experience a place, you'll find and reveal new details, right? Something will change, something will reveal itself to you. It's like this idea of creating deeper experiences that, you're not standing in front of kind of telling people what they're supposed to think, but you're kind of embedding all these Easter eggs and all these discoveries and all these connections that, maybe they get, maybe they don't, maybe they interpret it a different way, but it keeps them engaged and it keeps them coming back and kind of discovering more.
How about for you, Sequoyah, as you're discovering what your clients' needs might be, how are you pushing your clients a little bit to be willing to take a step in a new direction? Because it's not just us, it's the client that we're leading and their willingness to challenge their own internal norms as well.
Well, first of all, we don't have clients. That's a big thing. We're in partnership to the community that we're serving.
Mm-hmm.
Our developers are our development partners. And this starts to break down that hierarchy of we're not in service to you in what exactly you want. We're trying to address what a community needs. We're also trying to sort of make sure that what the boundaries that we're always pushing is really in terms of a standard, elevating a standard. For those who are not familiar with Determined by Design, we primarily are dealing in affordable housing. And so the base standard is very low. And it's a huge disservice to a lot of communities and in dense urban environments. It's mostly Black and Brown communities. And that's sort of the makeup of our firm. So we don't have clients, we have partners, we have architectural partners, and we're always in partnership to this community that we're serving. So for us, that is a huge shift. And we have developers that reach out to us because we are trying to do something different in terms of the look, the feel, and understanding of materiality histories, and how that really plays into the psyche of these people who are trying to make a home.
So you told me before, vocabulary matters. And so you corrected me with vocabulary of client versus partner, which I love, because that's a mentality shift, right? We're coming alongside each other, the loss of hierarchy. I like all of that. Jeff, Jesse, do you have any vocabulary that you've really tried to push or shift or delete within your firms?
We have a lot. Again, that's also the Disney influence. On our team, we have no managers. So we have 0 managers because we believe people like to be led. They don't want to be managed. All right. Mm-hmm. We don't do training. Dogs are trained. Humans are coached. They're taught. Mm-hmm. They're educated. We don't talk about customers. Again, everything's fans. So everything drives. And I believe that's every company. I think the future of business is not how many customers you have. Customers are transactional. They come and go. Mm-hmm. But mm-hmm. fans never leave. So all we talk about is fans, and we want our people, our team members, to be our biggest fans. So, we have Fans First 101, we have traditions, we have language, we have everything. Because again, great leaders are great repeaters. And if, I'm the visionary, I can't do many operational things, but I see where we're going and I have an idea of that. And so I want to make sure that language is repeated over and over and over again. So we never say problems. We never talk about negative things in that sense. It's always, like Chick-fil-A, my pleasure. It's just positive language. So that's very, very important on how we build kind of our ecosystem of who we are and what we stand for.
I think that's great. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to add to that. I think for us, it's really about, it's sort of like the best idea wins. It doesn't matter where it came from. There's, certainly, I'd love to ask questions that people think I should know the answer to already. And just that idea that, our firm it's really the people. It's not one person. It's not, it's not egos. It's like a real roll up your sleeves, collaboration and team ideation ultimately, and we're all working towards kind of building the best outcome, and everybody feels authorship in that, and I think that's really critical for what we do.
So you all talked about success and outcomes. How do you know when something has worked? What's your measure of success? Jeff, I'll go back to you. How do you know, okay, I've piloted this enough, I've workshopped it enough? How do you know how do you define, and how does your firm define success?
Yeah. For me, it really comes, I love all the different stages of a project. I love to draw, I love construction, but really seeing people kind of in the spaces and seeing the spaces used, seeing people take kind of wonder is definitely, the place, the time when you feel it the most. And, I think one of the things that we're really hoping to do is create enduring places that last a long time. So like when we design a music venue, it's there for decades, not not years, right? And the whole idea that like if you can create more durable places through, you know, the thoughtful undertaking, then you don't have to replace them as often. You know, and they can be generational, and we can really make long-term contributions to the wherever we're working.
Great. How about you, Sequoyah? How do you measure, how do you define success alongside your partners?
Well, you know, success is something that, again, there's a lot of tiers to it. In terms of our team, how they have felt after the sort of the labor of love of seeing their concept, their schematic design, their design development, and then construction, and then inevitable value engineering to then what is then built on site, and having them feel a sense of like a sense of pride what they did, that I did this, because there's a bit of magic in all of this, right? Photorealistic renderings, okay, but like there's a ton of magic and trust that has to go into it. But what is I think a big earmarker of success for Determine by Design is when the design team go to a site that now residents are moved in, or you know, we're finishing sort of FF&E, and residents are like just in awe, that they are like, this is for
I
me.
get this. Yes. Yes.
Is really the part I think that all of our team really takes to heart. All of this really does have this huge impact on people who and communities who most people sort of underserve and underlook, and I think that they are able to afford a certain visual standard. So it's very much about the end user and their experience. That is what we're earmarking as success.
Okay, so let's.
Oh, I'm glad that it's not mine.
Whatever label as that guidepost of your decision. So I'm gonna hand it back to you, Jesse. How are you always keeping kind of that fan of yours as that guidepost?
Well, I got the second part of that question, so I didn't hear the first part, but because you froze a little bit. But how is the fan kind of the guide in every decision we make?
That's right.
All right, we're there. So the name of our company is Fans First Entertainment. Our mission is fans first, entertain always. Every decision we make, we ask, is it fans first? So, you know, we've done literally when we have meetings, we have an empty seat. Would the fan want this? We don't raise prices because the fan doesn't want that. We look at strategically why we do certain things. So it's really not only just the guide, it's kind of who we are. So, and back to, you were asking earlier about success. You know, success is interesting for us because we measure it not necessarily by, you know, how many fans come out to our games. I don't even know the revenue. I don't pay attention to that, but we measure it by the stories that we create. So for instance, every city we go to when we travel around the country, and if we do major league stadiums, we ask, what are the fans' first moments we're going to create tonight? And then at the end of the night, we have our team speak about the fans' first moments they created. And, you know, when fans line up at 9 a.m. for a 7 p.m. game, which makes no sense, and they stay till midnight outside waiting and talking to players, you know, when fans come say they drove 40 hours for this game and they're driving 40 hours back tomorrow, other than telling them, jump on a plane, it's a lot faster, that makes no sense. We share these moments that are created. Our fans, when it's pouring rain, our players and staff line up with umbrellas and walk mothers and kids and people to their cars. And when we get messages back, how much that meant to us and helping like that, that's what drives everything. So we always say every game is someone's first game. Every day is someone's first interaction with your brand. How do you make them feel? And so for us, you know, again, we're fortunate with the numbers. That's come from 2 tickets to sleeping on an airbed to over 2 million on a wait list, but it's that one fan at a time. You know, Howard Schultz said this with Starbucks. It's one cup at a time, one partner, one customer, you know, one experience at a time. That's how we view it. And at the end of the year, every company has core values, but do they have stories that back up those core values? So we create an entire fans first playbook with all the moments that happened that past year. And that's how we evaluate people. That's how we, make sure our people are growing with us by how many fans first moments are they creating. It's
That's actually so interesting, Jesse, because I think if not every design firm and architecture firm does a lot of like end user surveys to really understand. We create these spaces, and then sometimes we have no idea like how successful people are actually engaging in these spaces. So this idea of the fans playbook.
Fans first playbook, yeah.
I love this.
Well, thank you. And I saw one of the messages saying, "Hey, try and assess how walking in our client shoes fits with our industry." And I'm fortunate, no one wanted to hear from me at all, but now I get to talk to tons of B2B clients that literally have no customers directly, but their clients. But what are those stories they're creating with their clients? Their B2B company, who they work with, can they build those? And that builds purpose, which then drives people that want to be a part of your organization because of those moments you created for them. So it's also, you can create a fan out of anybody. I think people say, oh, we don't deal with our end user. No, you're dealing with people that goes to your end user, and you can create those moments every single day. That's what I think about constantly.
I love that. Sorry, I broke up there for a second. I think I'm back. I'm not sure what's going on, but I like this notion that our fans are internal as well as external. And I know that each of you have done work within your own firms to kind of build culture. So I want to transition there, pivot there for just a moment, a little bit. So Kovel, you're telling me that you kind of have this village mentality personally, but it sounds like that is true of determined design in general. So what do you think? What has helped build that? What's at the core essence of the culture?
So, we have to always like assess as a whole person, every member of our team. And that's really important in these conversations, especially sort of present ones about sort of diversity, equity, inclusion, equity, or like working different, policies like what's your parental leave, right? And like companies that don't have great parental leave, like, well, are we really reaching a milestone, right? We're 100% remote, right? We're a virtual interior firm. So like addressing sort of needs that might be regional is really important. And we have a take what you need policy. We're working towards a 4-day work week. We are actually we have breaks, right? We've got a summer break and a winter break. Right. So we're after Friday, like we're off. We will not return until not the 2nd, but we will return on the 3rd. When there are sort of times in which like we make sure that our team comes first, and comes first. That because if they're not okay, if they don't have all like the support that they need, what are we doing here?
That's right. Super important. How about you, Jeff? What are some guiding posts for the culture that you're developing within your firm?
Yeah. Well, we're about 30 people, and we just moved into our 4th home. And each of our locations has sort of experimented a little bit with kind of moving into an underdeveloped or a forgotten neighborhood that has a lot of potential, and we've leveraged our tenancy as a way to kind of plant a seed in these neighborhoods and bring them to life. And so, as Skylab has grown, we've been able to sort of amplify that each time a little bit. And we just moved into a project that we've been working on for 3 years, which is kind of a compound of warehouses that we purchased. One's a Quonset hut, which is our main studio. We have a garden space. We have event space, fabrication studio, art gallery. The space, fire pits, outdoor spaces. We're what I realized sort of in retrospect, we thought we were sort of building sort of a playground for our design team. And what we realized actually is that we built kind of like a better version of home in a way, and one that's sort of the shared home. And it was a little bit accidental, but like we have a full kitchen and there's a dining room table in there, and you can flow out to the garden, and that table has become the new water cooler, right? And it's like all these ways where we can interact with each other, where you don't have to schedule time. You can sit down and read the paper. Somebody will come up and hang out. You'll talk to them. You're getting all these sort of chance interactions that are kind of like, I don't know. It's a new version of what I think we were hoping to gain from being at work. And for us, like we are all together, and we're working on 30 projects at a time, and it's super kind of intense and hands-on and physical in terms of like sketching and looking at materials, and just so we're really into this sort of in-person interaction. But then layering on, all these different spaces you can go to in the studio, ways to bring other people in to kind of create that layer of influence. And then also just have fun. And we have a band, and we have a lot of
Whoa, you
parties.
have a band?
And,
Like, so employees are part of the band? I want to hear
Yes.
more about the band.
Yeah, we have a rock and roll band.
Wow, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I play guitar. One of our
Okay.
principals, Nita, sings. We have a construction manager named Tom, who's a drummer. Eddie,
Okay.
who's a bass player. And we started by playing events for Gray Magazine, which is a West Coast design magazine.
Okay.
And then it just kind of stuck. And so super fun, and just now we have this platform where we're just sort of every day is a new day here. We're like, what can we do with this? What can we build here? What type of events can we host here? What kind of interactions can we add? And yeah, it's super exciting.
Jeff,
So
I have a quick question, Jeff. Do you
Yeah.
actively share that? I think the idea of creating a home and sharing that would be an amazing recruiting tool.
Yeah. You mean share it like in our communication right now?
Just like what from your website to videos to your
Yeah.
social media, do share, hey, this is our environment.
Yeah. So we're working on that as kind of our next iteration, where like the Quonset hut is going to be the sort of website interface. So you kind of enter our compound essentially, and then there's our playlists are accessible, the events we're hosting are accessible, the work, live views into the construction studio, and things like that, so that the vessel becomes the kind of the Venn diagram for kind of who we are and what we do.
It's the table that everybody's sitting around. Back to Sequoiah's kind of analogy.
No, I'm actually curious about like then your relationship like to the outside like community. Do you find that like your team members then start to move into those sort of I can't remember the phrase that you used for sort of like divested communities?
Yes. Oh, 100%. So like the neighborhood that we just moved from is now called the West End. When we were the first active retail space in basically a boarded up neighborhood. And we grew from, I think, like 8 people to probably about 18 in that space. And now that neighborhood is just thriving, and there's high rises that were vacant lots. It's really known for food and beverage and retail, and it's one of the most successful, maybe you could argue the most successful downtown kind of component of Portland right now. So it's been the one that's sort of the one leading us back through a sort of downtown recovery.
Yeah. Well, way to take that bull by the horns, so to speak, and be willing to do that, because that's a whole change on its own. Get people to really locate to an area that needs some help. So that's huge. Jesse, I know I read somewhere that your recruitment just happens. People want to come be a part of what you've got going on.
Not in the beginning.
Not in the beginning. So what changed?
Well, a few things. I mean, first, we started building what we're doing. So, but you're talking about, I was sharing with obviously Jeff about sharing what you do. Most people, when they market, they try to talk about what they're going to do. We changed it. We spend $0 on traditional marketing. What we do is when our umpire is dancing, or when we're crazy hitting entrances, or our player on stilts is pitching, or our Banana Nanas are dancing, we just show everything we do in front of our live crowd and put that out. And that's what's developed 15 million followers, which then developed more interest in our team. But the reality is we scream from the mountaintops who we are and what we stand for. So yes, we do have a wait list now. I think that's 6,000 that wants to work with us, but it's no one in the beginning, because now they started seeing the fun. We started showcasing the fun, not to try to get people to work with us, just showing, hey, this is what we do. I love Jeff's idea because we just got a new office, but it's not set up like that. We're still learning as we go.
That's right.
But I think the intentionality, and so even once they join the wait list, then there's steps and steps and steps. We have a vision on every position, and then we say why you shouldn't apply for this job. And we give all the reasons on why you shouldn't work with us, and every single reason. And we try to deter as many people away from the challenges, everything that we
filter.
The filter. And then if they get through that process, then they have to do a video cover letter on why they're a good fit. They have to do a fans first essay on how they fit our core beliefs. And then they have to do a future resume, not what they've done in the past. Really, that doesn't matter to me. What they want to do in the future and how hungry they are and what their role is, what they want to do with us, and try to see their creativity. And so once they get through that, then it's a 1 to 2 month culture interview process. So it's very, very hard. And we've learned this from Chick-fil-A and so many people that have done such a relentless hiring process. But, I think very few companies, they don't show the fun as much. And maybe it's not, they're not having as much fun, but I think the world right now is hungry and starving for fun. They're starving for people that don't take themselves too seriously. Yeah. We consider ourselves, we're fun, but like we have a job we have to do. We have to deliver an experience to 1 million+ people every single year. And so I think you show the realness of you show the fun, and that attracts. We don't recruit, we try to attract by screaming on top of mountaintops who we are, what we stand for, and our fun. And then hopefully they come in and are intrigued at what we're doing.
Right. And the authenticity. That's why I love the band, Jeff, because it's like this authentic persona of talents that you've built over time. And now you have a shared experience, and it's a fun thing to do. I love those fun shared experiences. So there's go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's like collaborating in music is like one of the really most kind of selfless things you can do, right? Like when learning to play music with a group of people, right? And so there is it's analogous to like what we want to do in the design process, right? And so it's just a different vehicle for that kind of interaction.
So question in the chat. So Sequoyah, your firm is mostly remote, my understanding. And Jeff, yours is mostly there in your brand new up and coming neighborhood, which is great. So just curious, the question is, how important is in-person work to building, supporting culture in your teams? And do you think that translates to customer experience? So Sequoyah, I'm going to come to you first. Okay. How much of it do you spend physically apart versus physically together? Are there different stages in a process of building a team that calls for different activity potentially?
I mean, like building any team, not everyone, like you have to have different personalities versus personality types. People bring different strengths. We all work on our weaknesses together. In terms of like collaboration, what's amazing. So we do have touch points where we either will have retreats where we close the office, we come together. What we did this year is that I think 98% of us went to NeoCon. So almost our entire team went to NeoCon. What's crazy is that people will know each other. And we're like on Zoom. We love to sort of figure out the technology, and we are big fans of Zoom versus Teams.
Us too.
It's right. Yeah. Because you can't, the annotation tools, come on.
Like you need to draw online at the screen. Yeah.
And also the fact that you can like record even like your trace sessions is like huge. So what's crazy is that there are people who will have known each other for 6 months. And when they meet in person, it's like they've never not met each other. Right. So there's a level of like connectivity that you can have and you can get and not have to be in person. It's also a different type of collaboration. So many firms sort of like stick to the loudest barking dog principle.
It's hard. Or,
like even in traditional like charrettes, like whoever some people like to like put in the crock pot, like let it stew. They need a couple days to think about something. Are just as valuable.
That's right.
the idea of not like this sort of all hands on deck, right? Is actually not the best way to collaborate for different personality types. Being remote sort of helps that, but having the touch points where we get to sort of hang out in person. And again, when we do a retreat, we've got our fun retreats where we just shut it down and we have a week where we just have fun with each other. Also are in constant contact. And there's a real like bond and kinship and friendships that truly develop with the level of actually interaction and engagements. We play with like the painful Monday morning meeting where it's like, oh, what project are you working on? What are your hours this week? Like, you know, these are all the things you have to do. We spend an hour every Monday where we actually just like commune. It's like we just have a moment where we regroup. And you know, we either will chat about our weekends or we'll like talk about something in the news. It's just a moment where we just want to sort of say, okay, hey, it's Monday. We hold space. We hold a lot of sort of space during the week to have non-project based meetings, right? Because there's a huge level of autonomy about being remote where you do have to be responsible for your work. And so everybody is responsible. And similarly to what like Jesse said, like people don't want to be managed.
That's right. They want to be led.
And they want to be able to, in our design team, they want to be like, you know, the best designer that they can be. And that course is very different for each designer. Yeah,
I want to tease out something you mentioned, how there's different personality types, and some people are crockpot thinkers, and other people, you know, it's the fire and the frying pan, right? And I also, you know, from a neurodiversity perspective too. I mean, that is so true. How do you think is a good way to do that? When so much of it is meeting schedule oriented? Jeff, I'm curious, how does your team do that when you go through a creative process? To get
I think a lot of it has to do with like just the dynamics that you set up, you know, what type of space you're in, how many people are in that space. Are there people remote and present at the same time? Is everybody present? You know, for us, I think we try to tend towards smaller groups and in person, because we feel like that's the best way to create that level of comfort and engagement, and you know, where people feel like they even the folks that don't want to speak up often will, because they've just created, you set the table in a way where everybody's disarmed. I agree. Like you know, I just came out of like a 30-person charrette for 4 days, and you know, there's only, you know, people are fighting for space to speak, but only like 7 of the 30 people that were in there, right? And then, you know, the rest of the folks were you know, were being a lot more internal or quiet, and you know, and so I think that's, you know, there's some benefit to that. There's some benefit to everybody hearing everything that's being said as sort of a setting the stage for the longer project. But I think for us, it's like, you know, smaller, you know, more intimate, try to get everybody engaged. And I mean, we really struggle. I mean, the reason why we're all in person is just we're just incapable of managing a sort of a hybrid work environment. Like it just, you know, it just wasn't functional for us. So we just said, hey, everyone's an adult, you know, do your thing. If you need to go work from home for the day, go do that. If you're, you know, whatever, just we're not going to micromanage that. But you know, our hope is to be together so that we don't have this sort of you know, diversity of like engagement, I guess, that we felt like hybrid was creating.
Yep, that's fair. I really like the question that Christina pressed us on earlier in the convo, so I'm going to go back to that a little bit. And she's talking about how so often as designers, we're working a process, right? We're working an engagement, we're trying to understand the client, we're trying to walk through that. And this might be the only time they're ever worried about a new building or a new space planning for their entire career. So what is this balance between process, co-learning with the client, the partner, understanding their goals and needs, and then you walking away and then showing up and providing what they're working for versus engaging them along the way? And I'm just curious, how do you kind of handle that?
Oh, I will jump in. Okay. So, I have a little bit of a pet peeve, right? Again, we don't use clients, but like it depends, right? I will say this, I'll make the caveat of like, it depends if your client is the end user or not. I don't advocate at times for the design team to feel as though that they have to educate the client. If they would like to hide the vegetables, so be it. Sometimes it's too much time, energy, and attention. I really encourage designers and architects to lean into their authority of their knowledge and of their training, and building that trust to allow someone to guide you is a big deal. And sometimes part of that like control thing is like where like go do something that you don't know how to do, and see how that feels for you, and then right, because there's things in the background I don't want to know how certain things work, but I want to enjoy the experience. So it's a little, I know it's a little problematic where it's like, yes, we want to be sensitive to our clients' need, we want to educate our clients, but I find this mostly when it comes to things like healthier building materials, because as soon as I say it, they're going to be like, it's going to cost more. And knowing who your client is, if it's sort of dollar cents, people who see shapes versus colors, I'm going to not say it. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show the material. I'm going to spec the material, but I'm not going to sort of spend the time to raise the attention. I'm just going to do the good work. I'm just going to hide the vegetables.
Interesting. How about you, Jeff? How much education, inspiring along the way are you doing? What's the balance?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think for us, we're acutely aware that we're not building these things for us, right? And I think that's really like super important, right? It's like this is not about us. This isn't about our portfolio. It's not about look at us, look at our work. It's about we're building a experience to help you with your goals as an individual, as a company, as a cultural group, whatever it might be. And so I think that mindset's super important, right? And so we're always thinking about is how can we do this really well, knowing that we're going to disappear, right? And then this is really for them. So for us, I think how we do that is really through consensus building. Like we want people to really own the outcome, and we do that, I think, by for the most part, like going down every road we can think of that's an option and helping cross off all the ones that aren't the chosen path, so that when you're on that path, you're confident that you had a great process, you looked at everything, you feel like you're buying into the story, you're buying into the innovation piece, you're buying into how we're kind of integrating with the landscape, and then you're going forward, and you have that confidence, so that when that handoff happens, it's their story that they're telling about their space, not about the architects or the designers.
Storytelling is the thread, I think, through all of this. Storytelling around the table, storytelling online as they go home from their 40-hour drive to go from the baseball game. What did they see? What did they interact with? I think that's vital. So as we wrap up here, I just want us all to take a pause, think about what is the one thing you should tell the audience today to start doing differently? What is the one piece of advice that maybe they're not willing to take a risk, maybe a different word in our vocabulary that we need to focus on? And Jesse, I'm going to start with you. What do we need to start doing differently as you talk to a bunch of people who service a B2B type of a client?
Well, what I've seen and what I've learned is that, everyone has, to a level, similar products. They might be a little better, they might have a little different system, but it's the experience that is the true differentiator. And so when we actually have in Fans First, it's who we are, our Fans First way, what we stand for is our Fans First pillars, and then what makes us different is the Fans First experience. And we have it mapped out every stage of the experience, from when you first buy tickets to you get a thank you call, to literally getting an email what to expect when expecting, to getting a playlist of music to listen to on the way to the game. Even if it's B2B, what are the stages of your experience from the first interaction, whether it's they're reaching out, whether it's a referral, to the next step, you lay the expectations, what to happen, and then figure out how each stage you can do something that's a little bit remarkable. And, you know, we talk about, Andy Stanley said, do for one what you wish you could do for many. And, you know, think about maybe one part of that client experience that you could do something that's truly remarkable, and that will make a difference. And we talk about with our team constantly. On the back of our Fans First playbook, it says, be patient in what you want for yourself, but be impatient in how much you give to others. Start mapping an experience where you give more to others, and you'll never have to market again and every day, and you'll never have to worry about sales, because it'll take care of itself.
Yes, it will. With the wait list. I love that. Thank you, Jesse. All right, Sequoyah, how about you?
Stop being inspired by design. What I mean is that start looking at other things. Start reading like history books, documentaries, get inspired by literature, go see some art, and not just sort of the art that you're seeing that's on a wall from an interiors on Instagram. So many times designers just feed themselves more design, and there becomes sort of a level of veneer that is then seen in spaces. If you're not digging for the story, the root of the land, the site, the community, the neighborhood, the place, the people, get outside. If you're someone who like hikes, that's your pastime, like tell me the history of the trail that you're on. Who are the indigenous people, the first like tenders of that earth? Know some things that are not design related, and have that be really the core of how you move through your design work.
Interesting. Love that. Get outside our industry. Get back to nature. Love it. Jeff, how about you?
I love that. I was like listening to that, going, yes, we do that.
Yay!
That's the secret sauce. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I totally agree. You know, it's like, it's really hard in this sort of media world to sort of avoid all of the sort of referential kind of ideas, and it seeps in, it's coming at you from everywhere, you know, and it's funny. I mean, I like to say that like we started Skylab before the internet, right? So it was like, you know, for us, it was books, right? And it was finding, you know, going to the library, and it was like finding books on insects or anthropology, or just like things that were not looking at other people's design work as the source for the solution. And now our process is very much aligned with what you're mentioning, which is like, and I also see this as partially like procrastinate. It's a great tool for managing procrastination, because you get into starting a project and it's like, okay, let's kind of follow any kind of instinctual path. For us, some of it's like analytical and more science-based, and some of it's more instinctual and kind of art-based. And it's just like, let's build this sort of like, melting pot of influences, and then help try to craft the story out of that. So yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I think for me, ultimately, like it's about leaving every place you touch better than when you found it, right? And it's just like, it's a really simple kind of pursuit, but it's super rewarding. And you know, I was really conflicted about like becoming an architect in a world where I felt like we needed less development, not more development. And you know, looking back now over 24 years or whatever of our work, I'm able to see that we were actually able to make, you know, a difference that way, and like throughout a long span, you know, move the needle in terms of like how people think about like interacting with the built, you know, the unbuilt environment or the built environment, and creating inspiring legacy outcomes.
Well, thank you, Sequoyah, Jeff, and Jesse, for an inspiring conversation and a challenging one. I look forward to having some time off as we head into the new year here. I'm going to read a couple books. I'm definitely going to do that. I'm hoping to get out in nature, enjoy some snow a little bit. So we encourage you to think differently about how you're going to spend your time, the people you're going to interact with. I had someone tell me this weekend that in 10 years, the difference between who you are now and the person you will be in 10 years are the people you interact with and the things that you read. So that's my challenge to you. With that, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy holidays. Thanks for your time and attention. We appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.